Welcome to the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi After the Show podcast.
If you struggle with organization, you've come to the right place because Murphy is ready to spill his secrets or Eisenhower's secrets based on our daughter called you and said, hey, Dad, I need some help with organization. I know you have read every book. And I was in the house like doing laundry and I overheard things like Eisenhower matrix and calendar merging. And I just tried to stay out. So are you ready to school us on all this, Murph?
Well, so back to what you said at the beginning, I actually do struggle with organization myself. I mean, I work through it because it's a process. It's not like something that you set and forget and there's some magic to it, you know. And some people are naturally, focused and able to keep things in their mind. But the truth is, no one is able to actually manage all of it, strategy, life, all of those things in your mind or with a piece of paper that's just this vertical list. It's not a way to manage what's important to you. Mm-hmm. And so the whole Eisenhower matrix thing, it was Dwight Eisenhower, the president, who developed it when he was in the military. It's what he used for basically military strategy planning, life planning, everything. Mm-hmm. And so that's how it became popular. But as everything does happen in cyclical and generational,
it comes back.
It comes back, and somebody writes a new book, and they call it their own thing. Mm. All of these time management books that are out there are all variations on the same themes that have been around truly forever. And so,
is there one that stands out to you? Because if you've read so many, and it's the variation on the same theme, but if it's written differently or if it's described differently, does one of them catch you more?
I think sometimes, yeah. I mean, I think the writing styles, like from the 1940s to the present, it's a little more, I want to say, an easier read.
Casual.
It's casual, right? The way people. So for me, the introduction to all of this was a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People from Dr. Stephen Covey. Mm-hmm. And
famous.
And, it came out in the early 1990s. I'm not going to take you down every page of the book. But anyway.
Good. I was getting worried.
Stephen Covey, it calls it the 4 quadrants, which is the easiest way to visualize it. And so it's like drawing a square, and then and then you carve it with a line down the middle, top to bottom, and left to right, and now you have 4 boxes that you're looking at. Mm-hmm. And in those boxes, one of them is now. Of course, I'm gonna have to remember which one is where. I'm pretty sure the bottom right is not urgent, not important. The top left is urgent and important. The top right is important, not urgent. And then the bottom left is urgent, not important. And the average person spends the least amount of time in the area of things that are important but aren't really urgent. And I know that's difficult to visualize. You look confused, Jodi, but I'll simplify it for you even more. Basically, we tend to react to things in life, and those things feel urgent. And the things that are actually important that are not urgent are the things we put off. Exercise, eating better, taking classes to learn things, hobbies, bucket list. You want to take a trip, do something for the family.
Quality time with people you love.
Yeah. And by its definition, it's important. It's not urgent, so it falls away. But it's important. Mm-hmm. And so priority setting is really how you best manage your time. And I know that I get that when I went on my retreat this past weekend, I had fallen back into the habit again of letting my task list run me instead of me running my task list. And that's really where most of us spend our time. That's the things that are either we think they're urgent and important, but we don't always really make the best decision on those things. Some of them are urgent and they're not important. And sometimes that's a distraction. It's an interruption, and you have to make a judgment call at that moment as to whether it's really, important or not.
I have a question. There are a lot of things that I know are looming in my life, appointments and things. Am I lying to myself? I feel like I know what's not urgent. I know there's something that I need to take care of later today, but it can wait or I need to take care of before the end of the week. There's something, but I feel like I know that without having to put it in a quadrant. Am I lying to myself? Does everybody
I
need the
know.
quadrant?
I think everybody's got a different area of strength in that, but there are things that probably are important and not urgent that aren't on your radar anywhere right now that you're not actually thinking about. I think those would be, the things. And
like a doctor's appointment that's important but not urgent. You go on the wrong day.
Okay, I knew you were going to bring that in. That's so rare, but it did happen to me. I'm not saying I don't need some of this, but I don't struggle with organization. I trip on it sometimes. It trips me in life, but I don't struggle with it. I feel like on a day-to-day basis, I know what I have.
I think that's great. I mean, you've got a mom brain.
Every person could benefit from this, though.
Well, I think the reason every person benefits from it is because we tend to move so fast, we don't really stop to consider what it is that we're putting on a list of things to do. Did somebody else determine that for us? Now, sometimes it's going to be your boss. You work for somebody, and you know what? Even if you don't think what they're asking you to do is important, it's your boss. It's important. You're going to have to do it, right?
So everything belongs in one of those quadrants.
Yeah, everything that you do in life, think about it, it's going to fall somewhere.
Nice.
Sitting down and watching Netflix is not urgent, not important.
Okay, yeah.
But now, if recreation and the mental break is something, and you've got a documentary that you want to watch, well, then it's important. It's not urgent. You need to schedule it.
Yeah.
Basically, those four things, and I think I mentioned this on the show. It took me a little while to realize that these four quadrants, which is a really scientific term, I know, but they equate to the things of how you prioritize, which we talked about, that you either do it, and David Allen, who's written one of the legendary books over the last 20 years called Getting Things Done, the GTD Method, still viable today. People still actually use it. Some of it, he's revised it because he originally built it on managing paper, which is not as common today, but he's adapted it. But you make the decision the moment that something comes to your inbox. In other words, your life, your organizational system revolves around your master inbox. So you could picture that if you wanted to as a tray sitting on your desk, but it's not all work related. Something's going to come to you. You're going to have a family member call you, or you're going to have a party scheduled for the weekend you're supposed to attend, or whatever. Anything that comes to you like that, or that you create, hey, I would really like to learn how to horseback ride. That's all inbox stuff. So the question is, okay, you've had the thought, what are you going to do with it? Everything needs a next action. So, if it's horseback riding, you're not going to be able to do it until you learn how to do it. So that means that it's something that's a goal of yours, but you'll need to schedule, which is what they call defer. Do it, defer, delegate, or delete.
Do it, defer it, delegate, or delete.
Is that different quadrants?
Well,
the action.
Think about it. They match what you're prioritizing based on.
Do it as important and urgent.
If in David Allen's world, it's if it takes less than 2 minutes. If it's something that takes more than 2 minutes, you're going to have to time block that, or you're going to be distracted, or you're not going to be able to get it done, or your brain's going to start bouncing, around, which is what I'm guilty of. I do great if I don't get in this bounce around, lane. And so it's time block, and sometimes that means shut the email off. I've actually had to tell other people, around me, it's not that you're not important. You're important, but I'm not checking email for this 2-hour period that I'm working because I'm not going to go on a path. And sometimes you don't have to say anything about that at all. You just don't do it
for yourself,
right? And you follow up, but. If your phone is constantly chiming on your inbox, it's probably going to be stressful for you because you're reacting to everything, and you can't spend your life productively reacting to everything because by definition, that's not you making the choice. That's someone making the choice for you.
You're not walking the dog. You're being walked.
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy. And but David Allen's thing is, do it if it's 2 minutes or less. And so I've done that, although sometimes I'm a poor judge of what takes 2 minutes or less. Defer is scheduling, because not everything, and I do that now. I mean, that's how I manage most of my list now. There's most of the things I need to do can't be done in under 2 minutes, and they've got to be scheduled, and they're just going to have to fall in the order they fall into, and you're having to constantly reevaluate that because everything can't be A1 every day. And then
this does make sense.
But and then delegating really is, there are two ways to look at that one, because in today's world where businesses are shrinking, you may not have people to delegate things to. But the second question to that one is, do I need to be handling this at all? Is this not something that is really mine to own and execute, or am I just taking it on my back? Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, if it's not, if you don't need to delete it, route it to somebody else, then you delete it, you get rid of it. I had somebody else call it the file, act, route, file, act, route, or trash. Yeah, you see what that acronym is. Anyway,
okay. We're in fifth grade.
I like that one better.
We're in fifth grade all of a sudden. Okay.
But these are all like...
That was our friend Michael Abel.
Of course.
These are all
He's
based
good.
on the Eisenhower matrix, though, right?
They're similar.
Well, the do it, defer, and all that, I think that's more of a process, but they're probably an outpouring of that. And when Stephen Covey defined the quadrants, that's his focus for that was not for you to memorize 4 different quadrants. It's actually to acknowledge that most people create their list based on things that come to them instead of actually putting things on the list that you need to do, or assuming that everything is of equal urgency,
equal value, right?
Which it's not. You can't do everything at once.
No.
And your mind is task switching. I think you've talked about that before, Jodi, in 3 things. We've certainly done it on the show, where that's what's causing people the greatest mental fatigue these days.
Yes, burnout.
Is burnout, task switching, what the brain is doing, and the some of that is how you manage your workflow and task list, but some of that truly is just what they call doom scrolling. Your brain is actually task switching every time there's nothing that's passive and casual about that.
No.
And so every time your brain has to change a thought, think about that.
You're worn out.
It wears me out saying that out loud, So that's where real fatigue comes from.
Agreed.
And so, but again, it's easier said than done. That's why when I was talking to Taylor about that, she's more concerned about being able to get the things done that are important to her, but she doesn't ever seem to have the time for. Mm-hmm. Which again is that quadrant that I was talking about of the whole. It's important, but it's not urgent. Mm-hmm. And some of that's just the human condition. I think most of us, not everybody, but most of us are pretty selfless, and we want to help others. And so when we get asked to do something, we're going to tend to want to do that, especially if it's a family member or or something like that. But that's really what it is, and that's how Dwight Eisenhower lived, his life. And obviously none of us were alive when he was president. When you look back in history about him, he was criticized a lot for being the president that liked to play golf a whole lot. Mm-hmm. But he got all the important things done. And why did he get the important things done and was able to do that? Right. I mean, just because somebody wants to play golf and enjoy leisure, life is about balance. I don't care what your role is. Everybody needs to take a break at some point and go do something that is, healthy and balanced. And so
if you expect to be balanced and effective, you do have to have the break. The most productive people have balance. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I know it sounds a little complicated, and it's in the audio space here trying to describe that without seeing the visual of it. But really, again, you're just looking at a square with 4 boxes, and you're trying to figure out which is which. Which ones am I reacting to? Which ones are, mine that I want but I can't do right now? Which ones are truly not important? Doesn't mean I won't do them at some point, but they aren't important. And the reason that helps prioritize too, I exaggerate using the Netflix example, but that's you're making choices. Everything that you do is a choice. Even when you stop to just relax, it's still a choice.
Yeah.
And you just have to know where that choice is going. And so it's okay to choose something that's not important and not urgent. If that's what you want, just remember you can't do that and accomplish the things that are important and urgent.
Yeah.
Or the things that you say are important to yourself, but you're not really making them urgent enough to do them. We can make the choices. We don't get to choose the consequences.
The outcome.
But they absolutely relate to each other.
My biggest takeaway from this are those D's. You do it, you defer it, or what are the other 2?
Delete.
Delegate or delete.
Delegate or delete.
Yeah, and it really needs to be in that order. You understand that reason that order is important is because it does follow the urgency.
It does.
You're either going to do it now because I can or should, or it takes less than 2 minutes, or I'm going to defer it, which means I'm going to schedule it because it's still important. I'm going to get it done.
Get it done another time.
Delegate it. It's it's not urgent, but it's important, and someone else needs to. It's urgent but not important for me to be the one to do it.
Right.
And then delete it is obviously not urgent, not important. So yeah, they do correlate with each other.
I have a question.
Is this too cerebral?
No.
Yeah.
I'm
going to need some entertainment
I'm
after
right
this.
along with this the whole way because it pertains a lot to my life. Are you able now to instantly, as soon as an email pops up, to go, okay, defer, delete, da. Because I guess, okay, here an example, me. Everything to me, not everything, but many things to me are instant and urgent.
I know. I can see and feel that from you and working with you.
I have to let it simmer, generate a lot of anxiety in my system before I prioritize it and do the important, urgent, not what.
So it's a feeling first.
It's a feeling first with me. Mm. So like how long, like for you, since you've been doing this for so long, how long does it take you to, classify it? Is it like instant classification, or is it like at the end of every day or every 2 hours let me sort?
The reason that is a really good question is because I can't say that it's like I've mastered this thing. I'm a lot more aware than I used to be, but so much depends on your state of mind. And, for me, what I've been working on more than anything in my life is being able to bring myself back to center, because I'm a very passionate, proactive, emotionally engaged kind of person. I tend to really, when I do something, most times I'm loving what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? And so when you introduce emotion as a component, it's really easy to feel like something is more important than it is. Or it actually is that flip blessing curse thing where you've got something you're passionate and interested in, but it's really not the thing you should be doing at that very moment, but it captures your attention. It's the project and you're in the zone and you want to do it. Those are the traps that I wind up falling into. So I'm not perfect at that at all. The most complicated, and I think some of that's just in the nature of, I don't know what's in the nature of, delegation is very, difficult for me. It always has been. Yeah. It's either because I feel like, incorrectly that I can do it better than somebody else can.
Yeah.
Or faster than it's me trying to explain to somebody how to get it done.
Ding, ding.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's where, I struggle with that one. And so where I really try to go with that is when I see, what I'm most sensitive to are patterns. When I see the same thing that happens every single day, and it becomes clerical and redundant, and it's not the best use of my energy, a flag goes up immediately. That's something that it either needs to change or not, because I'm stuck in a cycle. There are certain things I don't need to be doing every single day, and they keep coming back to me. So I guess it's my job, and whether I'm a leader or not, I guess it's not important. You actually just kind of have to step up and figure out a solution to that so that you're not doing that same thing that's time consuming, every single day. But I will fall into that, that trap. So the delegate one is tough. If I fall into two that probably I struggle with the most are the do-its and the delegates. And I think some of that comes from the fact that when certain people are asking you questions, you just want to respond immediately and get it off your plate. And
different people asking carry different weight.
So I think it's like, I know this is not going to sound like a really oh, dude, that's the best answer ever. It's that anything that we do in life is a discipline, because yes, things can be smoother and you can make things stress-free, but it's a state of mind. Mm-hmm. Certain things are not going to get easier. If you go to work every day, your job is to create value for the paycheck that you draw, and you do that every day. It's not like one day you suddenly have accomplished it all and it's done and the paychecks keep coming. So it's a discipline. Every day you're having to start from scratch. A goal is not something that's in cement. Something that you want to do as a goal can move. Nobody ever wrote a law that said, well, I said 3 months ago that I was going to do this, and by God, I still need to, or it still needs to be an A, or I still need to do that tomorrow. You've got the power to change the goals and move things wherever you want to. But we tend to get emotionally hooked into things. And when we're not in our center, the moment emotion grips us, where we're really upset and mad about an email, that we're going to respond to somebody on that's intense, or you feel the stress and pressure of a deadline. Anytime something gets converted to emotion, and I know it's Jodi's looking at me because she knows me. I've had to learn this because I'm built this way. Emotion always gets in the way. There is never a moment that emotion is not going to create a problem for a logical solution to something. And we are human. We're emotional creatures.
Yes.
So there's no solving that. You're not going to get someplace where you have like, I've mastered this. It's the reason that people exercise every day, because you can't just exercise one day and be set for life.
Yeah.
It's a discipline. You got to do it every day. If you're learning how to play golf, or if you're learning how to, be a chef like you, think about the way that you cook, Sam. You love doing that, whether you realize it or not. You've got enjoyment, but you're teaching yourself through all these things.
Oh, every time.
And
Right,
every
and
time.
Right, and so that's a discipline. You didn't magically, fix the perfect pizza from day one, and
He's still trying, though.
I am, actually, yeah.
Yeah, but so it's where you have to really. This is, I guess, more on the counseling side of things than anything else. You have to really suspend your self-judgment and just get back in the game. That's all you have. Every day you're going to have a to-do list.
It's funny watching this because you asked him the question, hey, does he have it now? Does he have the quadrants? Does he see an email and know what to do with it? The answer from an onlooker, from me, is that some days he hits it really closely and some days he gets in his own way because of what he's trying to explain, is that he is a work in progress. And it's the reason that he's better than he used to be, but he wants to be better than he is today. And he gets better when he comes back from these retreats where he refocuses his life. That's the way I see it.
That's a good point, because I strip a lot of that clean. Mm-hmm. But the other thing that that is difficult for me is, I don't remember that I need to leave 50 to 60% of the day open for emergencies.
Yes, you do.
But I want to fill those hours because that's stuff I've got to do. So what you then wind up mentally having to do is plan on it, but you have to pivot quickly if you need to. It's not
the 2 P's get added to the 4 D's.
Well, and
plan and pivot.
Yeah, and I find that when I do that, if I remember that and I'm centered and I'm kind of peaceful about it, then I don't fatigue from those changes because I don't let my emotions invest in it.
Thank goodness.
Stress wears people out. And
Emotions
so if you find that you're trying to every day hit the dead to go, and you carry that as an emotion, you're going to be spent by the end of the day.
Yeah, that's me.
But you can still do that much. You can still do that much, and you'll get 50% of that energy back by not freaking out about it.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done. But it's again, life is discipline.
Mm.
Is there any thought for Sam for when a message comes to you, someone needs something from you, that email that's lurking that it's there, when you see it, is there any advice for not letting it be a feeling? It's a fact. It's there. Now you deal with it, or you defer it. Is there any, can you learn to say this is a fact, not a feeling?
Here's my it's not a method. It's just the way it works in my head is it will eventually come down, the anxiety because I will eventually at some point classify it.
Nice.
It's just that, when you get 3 or 4 of those in a half-hour period, it's all like, oh my goodness, uh-oh, now it's getting out of control. And that's when the head spins and all that, and I got to
calm down.
Find the time for it to calm down, sort it out, what goes where.
Mm.
Well, and the whole thing that, meditation is about is catching at the moment it happens, experiencing the feeling. You're not trying to push it away. You're not trying to get mad at yourself for the feeling. It's a feeling. And just like everything else that's not permanent, including our lives on this planet, a feeling is not permanent. Eventually, it's going to go away. Something that you were stressed about 10 years ago, you have probably forgotten about by now, right? And it's never permanent. You have to acknowledge it. And the faster you acknowledge that you're feeling that way, the faster it goes away. Yes. You let go of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really not, it's about not judging yourself and not getting, wrapped up and caught up. That's how people, get ill and have heart attacks and all the other things that go along with it, because it's not
carrying it.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you won't get it done. It's not the same thing as saying, this isn't important, I'll do this tomorrow. You're not procrastinating. You're just acknowledging that it's a stressful feeling you're feeling at the moment. Okay, great. Next.
Yeah.
And I still have the job to do. So I'm going to remove that or let that pass so that I can actually just focus and do what I need to do. And then you'll make a better decision as to whether it has to be absolutely done in the moment or, or not. Mm-hmm. But again, that's easier said than done. I'm speaking to somebody who will probably for the rest of my life have to manage and deal with these things and remember about all these little things myself. The biggest difference for me is that it's taken me forever to acknowledge them. And Jodi can tell you that because we've been married for almost 28 years now. And I guess it'll be 27 years, actually.
It feels like that, right?
Right. And, Jodi's always been, one of the first things I remember Jodi saying was, there are going to be clothes in the dryer the day you die. You're not going to get everything done. Things are going to happen. And, as...
Can't believe you remember I said that.
Oh, I do.
Oh, I do too.
There are a lot of things that you have said, I mean, that are like that. And I really used to get mad about the whole, because it was like trying to pull me back from something I was, focused on. But as time has gone on, you do have a great way of prioritizing. You are very organized. I don't know that you've really missed, anything, but you are very intuitive. And I think there are plenty of people, and maybe that's the mom brain thing too, is you're very intuitive about what needs to be done when and managing multiple things at once. I have to put it on paper because I literally will. It happened to me yesterday. I had a massively urgent request come from somebody extremely high up in the company that, needed something in 5 minutes. That took my absolute full focus. And I had a meeting that I needed to be to. And I'm looking at my calendar, and I know that meeting's coming up. And I was not going to be able to leave for that until I got that project done. And by the time I got into trying to get that done, because I was trying to get it done so fast, I violated my own rule. That's what I just described about being, kind of emotionally wound up in it, because I knew that it had to be, done. It's the way that I, responded. And
well, you're human.
Yeah, so I'm just saying it's the same thing. I have to work on it on a daily basis, but it's easier when you know yourself well enough to know that that's how you are, instead of denying it and
getting mad
at yourself.
That
I used to be. Yeah. Taylor will tell you. Our oldest daughter Taylor will tell you. And I've read it a million times too. It's always. There was a time where I probably thought it was hokey too, but I think a lot of people think it's hokey when you start talking about, well, you need to be compassionate with yourself and love yourself. There's actually nothing that's hokey about that. The reason is because if you judge yourself, that's hitting yourself with a hammer that's 10 times more impactful than what somebody else could insult you with from across the room.
Yeah, because you get to live with yourself 24 hours a day.
Our internal critic is by far more damaging to our own psyche and I'm not talking about like bullies and stuff like that. I'm just talking about in general, we don't tend to think and we don't catch our negative self-talk and beating ourselves up on things. Right. Setting goals for yourself is not about beating yourself up either. It's just about, it's all about balance, which I feel hypocritical saying because I'm the most unbalanced person in the world. I have to, work to be balanced. But that's, our oldest daughter Taylor says, being compassionate with yourself really does open up things, because once you're easier on yourself, again, your mind opens. You got to give yourself credit for being, an intelligent being on this planet, and that's probably the single most important way to do it. If your inner critic is the biggest problem,
talk to yourself like you would if you were 7 years old.
Yeah, but you
kind of are.
So don't eat in the living room,
right? But,
no, not like your mother did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Like you would if you were standing in front of yourself at 7 and you could go back and talk to yourself.
Yeah. So, somewhere across this half hour in this podcast here, I hope that it's helpful without it being, too.
No, it's fine. It's group therapy Thursday.
Too cerebral.
I feel like I feel like I learned something.
Yeah.
I think we can come up with a new one too, because I like what you hit on with the P's.
The two P's.
Plan, pivot, procrastinate, and priority.
Right.
Missed any part of the show? Get it all on the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi podcast.